All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Detroit Lions now with their 30-24 road victory over the Minnesota Vikings this past Sunday. They're now 11-4 and they won the NFC North for the first time since 1993. Now, their last playoff win was in 1991, and obviously everybody has higher expectations than just simply winning the NFC North, but it is a huge success in and of its own self because there were a lot of people who thought the Detroit Lions were going to be good, or a better way to phrase it would be there's a lot of people who saw the potential that Detroit could be this good. And even though they're 11-4 and they're 4-0 in primetime football games, and you've got a huge matchup on the road against the Dallas Cowgirls this upcoming Saturday, with San Francisco's loss yesterday, you never know, like Detroit could genuinely be the number one seed in the NFC. A lot of people still like to nitpick it. Oh, you know what? I'm not sure if I believe in Jared Goff. You know what? They're a good, enticing team. It's not going to be this year. It's going to be next year because that defense is just not very good. Now, I had a little bit of a different interpretation of their victory over Minnesota because Minnesota 7-7 at home, pretty much a desperate victory. They desperately needed to win that football game and they didn't. But they were going to do everything that they could, obviously. So Nick Mullins throws for over 400 yards. However, he has 4 interceptions. And for some reason, everybody was nitpicking the defense, or not everybody. I saw some people nitpicking the defense, but we're actually going to talk about that in just a second. Before we do, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Lions fans, love you guys so much. You blessed my last video on Christmas, so a Sam Laporta jersey is certainly going to be bought by me in the next couple of weeks. Thank you guys so much for the support all season. So happy, so excited for you guys. If we could try and get this video to 250 likes, that would mean the world to me. So here's what I'm trying to get at here. All right, Detroit won 30-24. All right, they dominated the time of possession 38 to Minnesota's 21. All right, both teams pretty much had 390 total yards of offense. Now the difference is Detroit held the ball for 38 minutes. So Minnesota only having the ball for 21 minutes of that football game, they put up 400 yards. I understand it was not a good game from the defense, but I still think the defense put them in a position to win that football game. Like 30 points that Detroit scored is impressive. They're a top 5 scoring offense in the league. But if my defense is giving me 4 interceptions in one game, it's not on the defense that you only have 30 points. But you get what I'm saying? Like, we're talking about only 30 points. Like, 30 points, once again, is top 5 in the National Football League, and you're going to win a lot of games scoring 30 points. But to me, the defense did what they needed to do to put the offense in a position to win the game, which is exactly what they ended up doing. The second half, they ran the ball so much. Jahmyr Gibbs, 15 carries, 80 yards, and 2 touchdowns. David Montgomery, 17 carries, 55 yards, and a touchdown. So the game plan changed a little bit because you're up 17-14 at halftime and your defense is getting some interceptions. But just in general, we always see this specifically in the third quarter from Detroit. You're trying to limit opportunities for the opposing team to come back and win that football game, no matter what the lead is at that point. What I do see is a little bit conservative play calling in the third quarter, which we do want to see change, but I do think this past week was a step in the right direction. The point differential was only, Minnesota scored 7, Detroit scored 6, and it was blocked. It was a block picture point, right? So the third point differential has been a huge issue for Detroit all season. They've been perfect in quarters 1, 2, and 4. So it is something that we're going to continue to keep an eye on, but I really think the defense did fine, and I really think the offense did fine, and I think it was just an overall fine, good football game. No, it was not perfect. No, they didn't, go for 500 yards and 40 points, and their defense had a shutout. But when we talk about this defense that everybody's so worried about, is like, first off, I have to remind myself that Ben Johnson, Jared Goff, and the Detroit Lions offense is firing on all cylinders, and even when they have a bad week, they still, in the grand scheme of things, compared to the rest of the league, they have a pretty good freaking week. They're putting up to over 27 points per game. Defensively with Aaron Glenn, you have to keep in mind how young this defensive group actually is. They're so freaking young, and they've dealt with some really unideal injuries. CJ Gardner-Johnson got injured right away. He was a huge free agent acquisition from the Lions this past offseason. You're going to have James Houston returning. You're going to have a Lee McNeil returning from this season. So you're getting a couple of players, a couple of key critical players back, hopefully in the next week or two. Hopefully by the time the regular season ends. I'm feeling hopeful about James Houston. I'm feeling hopeful about Aleem McNeil. I'm feeling hopeful about CJ Gardner-Johnson. But we also just have to keep in mind how young this defense really is. They're growing, they're learning, for better and for worse, all as a team. Now, some stuff in that last game, for example, Kirby Joseph with 2 interceptions, Brian Branch with an interception as well. These are two, Brian Branch is a rookie. Kirby Joseph is in year 2. These are 2 extremely young defensive backs these are really good games. This is really good for momentum and just keeping this going, confidence, morale, etc., etc. But then we've seen a player, Melifonwu, in the last couple of games really step up and really rise to the occasion. And he could be a player for Detroit to really keep a name on where, he had the game clinching interception. He had 2 total sacks, which has been an issue for the Detroit Lions all season. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, Melifonwu in his 3rd season here, he's really stepped up, especially in Minnesota. Like he was a game changer. So I just want to re-emphasize how young they are. And the good thing is, we could sit here and we can get critical, like, oh, they had 4 interceptions, they had 4 total turnovers, but they still gave up 400 yards of passing in just 21 minutes of possession for Minnesota. That's not good. And it's not a great stat, but I want to rephrase it. I want to look at it from the standpoint of their defense had 4 interceptions. And when you're going up against a team like Philadelphia or San Francisco or Dallas, turnovers are make or break. All of the top 4 teams in the NFC, all the best teams in the NFC, they can hang up 30. But can your defense get those stops when they need to? Can your defense force interceptions? Can your defense knock the football loose and get some forced fumbles? These are all things that are just going to be huge in the playoffs, especially when you're going up against like a San Francisco or a Dallas. Interceptions, fumbles, caused and forced by your defense, like that's a game changer. If your offense is putting up almost 30 points per game, folks, I really think this team is just getting going. They've had a whole season. They've had 15 games now defensively to try and figure it out. We've seen flashes of it. We've seen glimpses of it. Detroit's got 2 games left on the slate, Dallas and then Minnesota. So final 2 games, getting healthier, and they're getting better. All right. So that's just kind of a little bit of a Lions rant for the day. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. I hope you guys all had a great Christmas. Lions fans, seriously, thank you guys so much. It was a great, I can't wait to get a Sam Laporta jersey. It was a great way to, see on Christmas Day. So thank you guys so much. Hit that like button, hit that sub button. But most importantly, what are your thoughts on this Detroit Lions team down below?